All right, so I want to think about how we can use base 10 blocks to divide multi-digit numbers using that partition model. So taking and putting into an equal number of groups. 726 divided by 6 would mean that I need to split my 700s, 2 10s, and 6 1s into 6 equal groups. So I can start out by splitting my base 10 blocks into 6 equal groups. I'll start with my hundreds. I have 7 hundreds or flat blocks, so I can put 1 into each group to start with. So this one gets put into this group, this one gets put into this group, and we keep going, kind of handing out the hundreds blocks to each of the 6 groups. Now the problem is here I have 100 block remaining that I can't split equally into these 6 groups as is. So what I need to do is I need to trade in my flat, my 100 block, for 10 longs because they're equal. So this is also kind of like regrouping with addition. So now I have 12 longs or 12 10 blocks and 6 1s that I need to split up. I can do this by, again, handing or passing out my 10s blocks like this. So I can say the first 6 blocks get put into one of the each groups, and then the next 6 blocks go into the next 6 groups. So I end up putting, of my 12 longs, each of the 6 groups gets 2 of them. And then the last thing I need to do is to this is a typo, this should say 6. I need to hand out my 6 unit blocks, so each of the 6 groups gets 1 unit block. So by that partition model of division, my solution is just the number that went into each of the 6 groups. So each group has 100, 2 10s, and 1 1, or 121. So that tells me that 726 divided by 6 is 121. We can also use repeated subtraction to help us think about developing the standard division algorithm. So to remind you, the standard division algorithm would typically go 726 divided by 6. And you ask yourself, how many times does 6 go into 7? It goes in 1 time. 1 times 6 is 6. And then I subtract 6 from 7. That leaves me with 1. Then I bring down my 2. Now I have 12. How many times does 6 go into 12? 2 times. 2 times 6 is 12. Subtract, and I have 0. Bring my 6 down. How many times does 6 go into 6? 1. 1 times 6 is 6, and I have a remainder of 0. So that's how our typical standard algorithm would go. But again, just like with multiplication, that doesn't really make a lot of sense unless you start to relate it to place value. So if we want to think about relating this standard algorithm to place value, then we can think about, all right, well, the first thing we're doing is really we're just going to take away 100 6s, because if I'm going to repeatedly subtract 6 and I know I have 700s, then I know I can fit 600s in there, which is the same as 100 6s. So I can take away 100 6s and then another 10 6s and another 10 6s, then finally 1 6, which is the same thing as doing 100 6s, then 20 6s, and then finally one last 6. But both of these methods lead us to a total of 121 6s. So this leads us to a little bit more sophisticated way of thinking about what we're doing here. So the first thing on the left-hand side here is we're thinking about how many times 6 can be divided into 700 instead of 726, which is 600s. We subtract 600 from 726 because I know that I can, 600 is divisible by 6, and it's 100 sixes. I'm left with 126, and then I think about, all right, how many times can I subtract 6 from 126? And I know 120 is a multiple of 6, so I can subtract 120, which is 20 sixes. And then lastly, how many times can I subtract 6 from 6? It's just 1. So I'm left with 100 sixes, 20 sixes, 1 6, 121. And then this finally simplifies to that standard algorithm where really we just haven't written all of our other place values in, and the rest is the same.